Imagine you're the most powerful military force on Earth. You have stealth jets, AI-guided missiles, billion-dollar radar systems, and aircraft carriers the size of small cities. You've just taken out the entire top leadership of your enemy. Every military analyst on the planet tells you, it's over, pack it up, send the troops home. And then, your enemy fires back. Not just once, every single day, systematically targeting your most expensive assets, one by one. Radar systems, military bases, and drone swarms so cheap they were practically built in someone's garage. That is the story playing out right now in the Middle East. And whether you support America's position or not, what Iran has pulled off in the last week is something that military strategists, defense contractors, and Pentagon officials are going to be studying for the next 50 years. So today, let's break it down. Not with politics, with facts. Because this conflict is not just a war between nations, it's a war between two completely different philosophies of warfare. Smart bombs versus smart thinking. And right now, smart thinking is winning. Let's start with what happened on February 28th. The United States and Israel launched a coordinated strike against Iran, targeting its military leadership, its command infrastructure, its very ability to function as a fighting force. The expectation from Western analysts was simple. Iran would be crippled within hours, maybe days. The regime would be forced to the negotiating table. The strikes were precise, powerful, and unprecedented in scale. But Iran didn't surrender. Iran didn't even flinch. Within 48 hours, Iranian forces had launched retaliatory strikes against American military installations across the Gulf region. They targeted bases in multiple countries. They knocked out one of the most expensive radar systems ever built. They made the USS Abraham Lincoln, a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier worth roughly $7 billion, retreat from its position in the region. Now, the US denies the carrier was hit or damaged, but here's what nobody disputes. It was moved away from Iranian missile range. That alone tells you something. So how does a country under decades of crippling economic sanctions, with no aircraft carrier, no stealth bombers, and no intercontinental ballistic missiles, how does it go toe-to-toe with the United States of America and not lose in week one? The answer comes down to three things: drones, missiles, and 40 years of underground preparation. Let's talk about the drone that changed everything. On December 4th, 2011, something extraordinary happened in a remote part of eastern Iran. An American drone, a Lockheed Martin RQ-170 Sentinel, at the time the most advanced surveillance drone in the US arsenal, landed intact in Iranian territory. The US initially denied it was theirs. Then Iran released video of the drone, completely undamaged, sitting on Iranian soil. The Obama administration had to admit, yeah, that's ours, and they politely asked for it back. Iran said no. Instead, Iranian engineers did something remarkable. They reverse-engineered it. They pulled it apart, studied every system, every circuit, every design decision, and built 3 new drones based on what they learned. One was a near-identical surveillance copy, another was upgraded into a combat-capable version, and the third, the one that's causing nightmares in the Pentagon today, is the Shahed 136. This drone doesn't look like much. It weighs around 200 kilograms, it flies at roughly 115 miles per hour, slow by any military standard. Its range is about 1,200 miles, and it carries approximately 80 pounds of explosive in its nose cone. By itself, one Shahed 136 is not a serious threat to a modern military, but Iran never sends one. It sends hundreds, simultaneously. Here's where the economics become absolutely devastating for the United States. Each Shahed drone costs Iran somewhere between $20,000 and $50,000 to produce. Some estimates put it even lower. Meanwhile, the interceptor missiles America uses to shoot them down, the Patriot PAC-3, the Arrow 3, cost anywhere from $1 million to $15 million per missile, per shot.
Let that math sink in for a second. Iran spends $20,000. America spends $2 million to stop it. And if the interceptor misses, America fires another one, sometimes 2. American defense strategist Kaliko put it bluntly: for every dollar Iran spends sending a drone, the United States and its allies are spending $20 to $28 shooting it down. This isn't a military strategy, it's an economic strategy. Iran is bankrupting its enemy's defensive stockpile one cheap drone at a time. Bloomberg reported that after just the first wave of attacks, Qatar privately warned American officials that at the current rate of interception, their Patriot missile stockpile would be completely depleted within 4 days. Qatar publicly denied saying this, but the fact that this conversation was reportedly happening at all tells you everything about the pressure America was under. And it gets even more ironic. This drone became such a serious threat that the United States, the original manufacturer of the technology that Iran reverse-engineered, went ahead and reverse-engineered Iran's copy of America's drone. They built their own version of the Shahed, called the Locus, Autonomous Attack System, and used it against Iran in Operation Midnight Sun. America copied Iran's copy of America's invention. You truly cannot make this stuff up. But drones are only part of the story. Let's talk about the missiles that made Israel go silent. On March 2nd, Iran launched what analysts are calling its most significant military escalation in decades. Alongside hundreds of drones, it fired the Fatah 2, a hypersonic ballistic missile traveling at Mach 15. To put that in perspective, a commercial airliner flies at roughly 560 miles per hour. Mach 15 is 20 times that speed. And unlike traditional ballistic missiles that follow a predictable arc through the atmosphere, the Fatah 2 can maneuver mid-flight, changing trajectory, confusing radar systems, and making itself nearly impossible to intercept. Israel's multi-layered air defense, the Arrow system, David's Sling, the Iron Dome, couldn't stop it. Not all of them. Multiple Fatah 2 missiles reached their targets in the Tel Aviv area, causing damage that the Israeli government initially tried to suppress. Some satellite imagery and leaked footage that emerged online showed destruction that went far beyond a few craters on the road, as Israeli officials initially described. The Fatah 2 runs on liquid fuel, has a range of roughly 900 miles, and carries a warhead capable of devastating almost any target it reaches. 10 Israeli interceptor missiles were fired to bring down incoming projectiles in that second wave. Some still got through. Now, here's what most people in the West don't understand about Iran's military capability. This didn't happen overnight. This was 40 years in the making. Go back to 1984. Iran is fighting a brutal war against Iraq. Saddam Hussein, backed by Western powers, is raining Soviet-era Scud missiles down on Iranian cities. Nearly 5,000 Iranian civilians are killed, more than 20,000 are wounded, and Iran has almost nothing to fire back with. That year, the Iranian government made a decision. They would build the most sophisticated and affordable missile arsenal in the Middle East, and they would hide it underground where no enemy could destroy it. Construction of underground missile cities began in 1984. Tunnel networks stretching for kilometers, carved deep into Iranian mountains, each tunnel housing missiles on their launch platforms, ready to fire within minutes. By 1985, Iran was actively soliciting missile technology from Libya, Syria, North Korea, and China. By 1990, China was actively helping Iran develop solid-fuel missile technology. The Fatah 110 missile, still the backbone of Iran's missile force, was built with direct Chinese assistance, according to U.S. Treasury Department records. North Korea contributed key ballistic missile designs, with Iran's Khorramshahr missile widely regarded as a direct derivative of North Korean technology. In March of 2025, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps released a video that stunned defense analysts around the world. It showed the inside of one of Iran's underground missile cities, an entire subterranean military installation, complete with mobile launch platforms, munitions storage, and tunnels wide enough to drive trucks through. Nobody knows how many of these facilities exist. Nobody knows how deep they go, and that's exactly the point. The IRGC spent decades building a military that could survive any first strike and keep fighting. So how does Iran's strategy actually work against a military as advanced as America's? Think of it like this: Iran isn't trying to win in the conventional sense. It's trying to make winning so expensive for the United States that America decides the cost isn't worth paying. The first wave of attacks, the slow, old drones, the outdated Scud-era missiles, those weren't Iran's main punch, those were the warm-up. They were designed to drain American interceptor stockpiles, to force American and Israeli defense systems to burn through their most expensive ammunition, stopping threats that cost almost nothing to produce. Then comes the second wave, hypersonic missiles traveling at speeds no current interceptor system is reliably designed to stop. Cluster munitions that split into dozens of smaller warheads mid-flight, saturating defense systems. Decoy warheads that split off from the real payload and confuse radar tracking. By the time any interceptor decides which object to target, the real warhead has already changed direction. And while all of this is happening in the air, Iran is simultaneously targeting the eyes and ears of American defense infrastructure. The AN/FPS-132 radar station in Qatar, a billion-dollar system capable of tracking objects 3,000 miles away, the largest early warning radar in the entire Middle East, is now destroyed. THAAD radar systems in the UAE have been struck as well. Iran isn't just launching missiles at targets, it's blinding the systems that track its missiles. This is not the strategy of a military that expects to win. This is the strategy of a military that refuses to lose and knows exactly how to make that refusal cost its enemy more than any victory would be worth.
And what comes next may be even more alarming. Iran has, thus far, not used its most advanced weapon system. Military analysts believe it has held the Khurramshahr-4 in reserve, sometimes called the Big Daddy of Iranian missiles. It's 42 feet long, weighs roughly 20 tons, carries a warhead of up to 4,000 pounds, and has an official range of 1,200 to 2,500 miles, putting every American base in the Gulf, every Israeli city, and large portions of the Arabian Sea within its reach. It travels at Mach 16 outside the atmosphere and Mach 8 inside it. This is why American B-2 bombers have been conducting carpet bombing missions trying to locate and destroy Iranian launch infrastructure. Because if that missile is used at scale, with the decoy and cluster warhead systems Iran has already demonstrated, no current defensive system in the region is guaranteed to stop it. Now let's zoom out, because regardless of how this conflict ends, and it's far from over, the world is taking notes. The fundamental lesson here is not about Iran, it's about the future of warfare. For decades, Western military doctrine was built on the assumption that overwhelming technological superiority wins wars. Smart bombs, stealth aircraft, billion-dollar radar arrays, AI-guided targeting systems. What Iran has demonstrated, and what every military from Turkey to China to Pakistan to Russia is studying right now, is that a sufficient quantity of cheap, smart weapons can neutralize expensive, sophisticated ones, not by matching them, by exhausting them. The economic math is brutal and simple. When it costs you $20 to attack and your enemy $1,000 to defend, you can sustain that war indefinitely. They cannot. This is the new doctrine of asymmetric warfare, and for any nation, including the United States, that has built its entire defense strategy around expensive, low-volume, high-precision weapons systems, the implications are deeply uncomfortable. As for America's position right now, President Trump, who declared on day one that this war would be over in days, is now quietly acknowledging that this conflict could last a long time. U.S. embassies across the Gulf are quietly closing. Veterans back home are publicly asking why they're being asked to fight Israel's war. Kurdish insurgent groups that the U.S. tried to mobilize inside Iran have publicly refused to participate. And the most powerful military force in human history is, for the first time in a long time, being forced to reckon with the limits of its power. Smart bombs meet smart thinking. And right now, in the mountains and tunnels of Iran, smart thinking is holding its ground. If you've been watching this channel for a while, you know we don't just report what's happening. We ask what it means, and what this means for global security, for the future of warfare, for every nation that believed military spending alone guaranteed safety, is a conversation the entire world needs to have, right now. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Where do you think this conflict goes from here? And if you haven't subscribed yet, now is the time, because history is moving fast, and we're going to be right here breaking it down every step of the way.